Hi, this is Jay from Gamerfill and welcome to my re-review of Blur. Before I start, I'd like to say that if you have no lag or connection issues with this game, it is an acceptable game. It's not great, it's not terrible, but it's acceptable. The problem is that if you do have connection issues, then you're going to have a much worse experience. And as far as bug fixing promises from Bizarre goes, there's not much progress. To be helpful, however, if you do have connection problems, email Bizarre with every single piece of information you even think is pertinent. Maybe they'll be able to fix it. My opinion on the single player remains unchanged. It's too achievement heavy, the difficulty is extremely erratic, with some fan runs being nearly impossible even on easy, and later fan runs being easy full stop. The music, even the licensed music, is dull and repetitive. There's very little variation, and indeed, lack of variation is a big problem with Blur. Many of the cars are just repeats of other earlier cars, whether reskins or slight mods in stats. Playing the single player felt like a grind. It wasn't fun, and that's a big problem with a game that promises to be a big boys Mario Kart. One thing that does make sense game design wise is that achievements and unlocks are different in single player and multiplayer, although stickers, the overall achievements, require you to play all modes. The only big problem with the single player is that one of the achievements is impossible for those of us who have a low budget, because the only controller supported for the PC is the Xbox 360 controller. And speaking of the Xbox 360, let's talk about the multiplayer. If you're on the Xbox 360 or PS3, you are going to have a vastly different experience to PC players, and indeed it would be vastly superior. Whether it's the bad controller support, the various bugs, glitches, disconnects, freezes and crashes, or indeed the fact that there are never more than 100 players on the PC, the PC experience of Blur multiplayer is just poor. On the upside, when you do have a good matchup, the multiplayer is fun. It is fun, but that's a very rare event on the PC at least. One of the biggest problems with Blur multiplayer, apart from the disconnects, freezes and crashes which we hope will be fixed, is the matchmaking, or rather complete lack of it. There is a driving school room for players of levels 1 to 10, but this is meaningless because players of over level 10 can be invited to the room at any time by their friends. This, combined with the complete lack of matchmaking system, means that your first 10 levels are going to be a hell of either facing people who are 15 or 20 levels above you, or people who look like they're the same level but have legend cars. On paper at least, the legend car system should work. But in practice, it means that starting players will have no idea how challenging or indeed frustrating race will be, even if everyone looks the same level. Many of the game modes appear to be quite fun. For example, if I had the chance, I'd quite happily play Motor Mash all day. Alas, the lack of PC players means that Motor Mash is very often deserted, leaving only 2 game modes on PC which are regularly played, the 2 to 10 player races and the 4 to 20 player races. Again, on paper, racing looks great online, but in practice, many starting players, even players up to level 20, will be DNF'd nearly every time by more experienced players. On the Xbox, this is going to happen a lot less often, and the same on the PS3 because they have more players. But the low level of players on the PC allowed me to spot one huge balancing problem in many of the races. You'd think it was Shunt, the homing missile that nearly always hits, but the thing with Shunt is that there are many counters to it. No, I'm talking about track memorization and nitro. Now, track memorization is a normal practice. It's fine, But when you combine it with the fact that there are very, very few counters to Nitro, and that one can, on some maps, quite easily chain Nitros for the entire map, means that new players who don't know where all the Nitros are, or can't reach them due to the sometimes fiddly keyboard system, get left in the dust by the more experienced players. Overall, this game felt more like a grind than fun, a frustrating grind at times, with very little variety overall, and a series of bugs, glitches, exploits and disconnect issues that, if my research is correct, have made it through the beta under the noses of the devs. I'm actually giving this 2 scores, one for the consoles, one for the PC. On the PC, it's a shoddy port with low players and a lot of issues that really should have been fixed when they were first noticed. 2 out of 5. On the console, it gets a better score, 3 out of 5. It's not great, it can be grindy, the single player is, as I've mentioned, not fun. But, apart from a lack of wheel support, it's an okay game, with the potential to be a great one. Regardless of how I feel personally about this game, I wish Bizarre the best of luck in fixing the problems and improving the game. I'm still not recommending it for PC players, but console players, feel free to give it a go, you might actually enjoy it. This has been Jay from Gamerfill, wishing you all a good week.